Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm getting ready to head to Denver tomorrow for a Black student leadership event. I'm going to speak at the University of Denver. I really look forward to that. I love mobilizing young people, especially young Black people. But you don't have to be Black to peep the game that's happening on this channel. At the same time, I do speak on Black issues. I care about the Black community. I'm 100% Black 100% of the time, and I'm very, very proud of doing that. Now, one of the things I wanted to hit on is I want to talk a little bit about prison rape. And prison rape is something that so many people have become accustomed to making jokes about. But what I really want to help you understand is that this is not something that should be made fun of. This is not something that is funny. This is something that's very serious. And one of the things I will say is that I think that part of the reason that we think prison rape is funny, or we overlook it, or we don't think it's an issue, is twofold. One, typically abuse toward Black people is not considered to be as serious as abuse if it were happening to, say, young white kids. For example, a young white woman gets kidnapped or gets raped or something like that. It's national news. Everybody wants to talk about it. Nancy Grace is going crazy. But 10,000 Black men get raped in prison. Nobody says a word. Nobody gives a damn. Sexual assault on college campuses becomes this huge issue where they're using these crazy inflated statistics about how many people are being assaulted, and they broaden the definition of sexual assault so they can incarcerate as many people as possible, which to some extent is okay in the sense that if you're catching real predators, I'm okay with that. But what's so interesting is that nobody cares about catching the predators who are raping prison inmates, many of whom are not the dastardly animals that you've been led to believe that they are. I think that leads to the second reason that we tend to overlook prison rape and think that it's not a problem. We tend to think prison rape's okay because society has taught us that people who go to prison are just bad people. That basically, if you go steal a jar of cookies and you get locked up for a year, then you're a bad person, which therefore means you deserve whatever punishment, whatever penalty happens to you while you're in prison. If you didn't want to get raped, you shouldn't have stole those cookies. Well, I think that's bullshit. I think that's stupid. I think that's ignorant. Because at the end of the day, what we have to understand is that the punishment has to fit the crime. That basically, if you steal a jar of cookies, should you be punished? Maybe you should. Maybe you should pay a fine. Maybe you should, even do some time in jail if that's what the court decides, or whatever. But you shouldn't have to turn that into a lifetime penalty, which is what it becomes when you send somebody away to be raped repeatedly. And I'd say prison rape is actually worse than regular rape for a couple reasons. Number one, you're not going to be able to press charges. Nobody's going to go and seek justice for you because, again, you're a bad person. All they have to do is find a way to label you a felon, which coincidentally happens to be majority Black. The Black people tend to be predominantly labeled as felons as opposed to whites, which therefore leads to the white supremacist conclusion that white people are good, Black people are bad, therefore Black people deserve to go to prison and be raped, right? Because people put this label on you, somehow people think that because you've been incarcerated, because you made a mistake, the same mistakes that many white kids make and never get punished for, you therefore deserve to be raped, you deserve to be labeled as a felon for the rest of your life, you don't deserve to ever be able to get certain kinds of jobs, you deserve no access to public housing for the rest of your life. You deserve all these penalties that last forever because you made the same mistake that I've seen 10,000 white kids make on college campuses and never ever experience any consequences for that. Now, what really inspired my thoughts about this today was I read about a lawsuit today in the Detroit Free Press. One of my friends on Facebook sent this to me. By the way, in case you are a person that sends stuff to me, my email address is boyce@boycewatkins.com. I love it when you send me stories I don't know about. My Facebook page is the Dr. Boyce Watkins, so you can always send me stuff and stuff you think I should see because I'm always happy to hear about this. So I read about a lawsuit, and now in this particular suit, Deborah LaBelle and Michael Pitt are suing the Department of Corrections in Michigan because they basically allow juvenile defenders to be mixed in with adult offenders, and many of these young kids are being raped when they go to prison. And the corrections officers are seeing this happen, they're hearing this happen, and they're doing nothing about it. And so as a result, they're suing 15 wardens, the Department of Corrections, etc. And what's so interesting is that Chris Gautz, his name is Chris Gautz, Gautz, who is the public information officer for the Department of Corrections, literally said that basically these allegations are totally unfounded, totally untrue. And that really, I think, speaks to the depth of the denial that occurs when you talk about incarceration. Now let's put incarceration into context and let's talk about how this affects Black people. The United States incarcerates more of its citizens than any country on the planet. And what makes it worse is that the majority, a vast disproportionate number of those inmates are African Americans. Many of the states that had the most black slaves also happen to have the most black prison inmates as well. So, what Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, would say about this is that this is one of many pieces of evidence that shows that there's a direct link between slavery and mass incarceration. If you do look at history, something that they never teach in school, at least not accurately or in detail, right after slavery ended, they implemented things like the black codes, which basically would jail a black person for little things like not having a job, even though white people control the economy and black people have almost never been able to really get jobs the way white people can. So you would get incarcerated for not having a job and be forced to go work for a white man for nothing, for free. Which basically pulled you back into slavery. Sharecropping was very similar to slavery. It just goes on and on and on. So, okay, so let's dig into this a little deeper. So, the prison thing, it touches me because I had someone very close to me go to prison at the age of 17, and I strongly believe that he was also sexually assaulted while he was in prison. And what I saw in his life was after he got out of prison, he was never right for the next 30 years. Mentally, he was lost. It was like he had gone through some kind of a nightmare, and it became a nightmare for me because I looked up to him. I loved him. He was like an older brother, and I had no role model because the state took away my role model. And so, you've got millions of black boys around the country, but black girls too, who are losing their fathers, who are losing their primary role models, and now they're even losing their mothers to a system that treats you like you are less than a human being, that puts you away and allows you to endure the worst kind of torture known to man, the worst human rights violations on the planet, and acts like America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. That's stupid. That's a lie. America is probably the most racist, industrialized country in the world. We incarcerate more black men than South Africa did during the height of apartheid. And so we want to look at apartheid and say, apartheid is bad, you're evil, we're good, we're free, we're America. No, F that. That's stupid. No, America is not a country that treats African Americans fairly. I think that when you talk about sexual assault, here's some reasons why all of us have to be concerned about the sexual assault that occurs in prison. Number one, it is an easy way to spread STDs. There was a story about a brother who went to prison for 30 years for a crime he did not commit. Prosecutors a year later knew that another man committed the crime, but didn't take the time to get this man out of jail. His daughter lost her father. His daughter, who was a newborn baby at the time, lost her dad for the next 30 years. He gets raped not once, but dozens, if not hundreds of times over the next 30 years, catches HIV, and eventually they figure out, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. Well, you know what? When that kind of mistake is made, the prosecutor that sent him away needs to go to prison. The judge, if the judge had anything to do with this, if he did anything inappropriate, he needs to go to prison. Maybe he needs to go through the kind of nightmare that he's putting other people through. I can guarantee you that if a lot more middle-class white people were being forced to go through this kind of thing, this kind of horror, they would be a lot more sensitive to the issue. It's hard to be sensitive about something like 9/11 and not be sensitive to the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who've endured the nightmare of mass incarceration, many of whom, especially when you talk about African Americans, many of these people either are being excessively punished, meaning you're going through things like what Darrell Paget went through, where he got a 40-year prison sentence for possession of 1 gram of crack cocaine. Mario Lloyd, for example, is another guy that I know who never killed anybody, but he did sell cocaine, and he got 15 life sentences, and he locked up his mother, his sister, and his brother. You have countless stories like this where entire families are being destroyed, over crimes that really are somewhat redeemable, things that should not amount to a life sentence. And the other thing about the United States that's interesting is that the U.S. is the only country in the world that I know of that will give a life sentence to a juvenile. So when it comes to incarceration, we are a sick country. Another reason that prison rape should concern us, to go back to the STD issue. Well, think about this. A lot of these guys, when they get out of prison, they're going to have sex with black women. That's why black women are the highest growing group of STD infections in the country. A lot of it has to do with what's happening in prison. A lot of men turn into bisexuality once they get in prison. I don't care what people say. I think some people are born gay. Absolutely, I do believe that. But I believe some people go to prison and then they come out and they're bisexual. I've seen that happen. I don't give a damn what the liberal establishment says about it. They say it's wrong to believe that. No, I do believe that. I do believe that if prisons were not as full as they were, there wouldn't be as many guys on the down low as there are right now. So a lot of black women are affected by this. Another thing about prison rape is that it creates mental illness. So when that man comes home and he's dealing with his family, his wife and his kids, or his mother or whoever he's with in his space, they're going to have to deal with a person who's not healthy, who's not whole, who's not strong, who's not the kind of complete man that they need to be a strong provider and husband and father for their family. So the bottom line is that when it comes to prison rape, I hope that people will join me in understanding that you don't make jokes about prison rape. Those old drop the soap jokes and all that other stuff, that has to go out the window. We can't do that. That's not funny. Rape is not funny. And what's interesting to me is that there are a lot of people who think rape is a heinous crime unless it's happening to a black man behind bars. And what people seem to forget too is that a lot of these brothers, they do go to prison. A lot of them either are excessively punished, and many of them are actually innocent. And the reason that I know many of them are innocent is because black men in America do not get justice. Most black men that go to prison take pleas, because in a lot of cities, I heard a prosecutor explain this to me. She said that the minute that you're arraigned, they offer you the plea. And if you don't take the plea, they punish you all throughout the process. They stack up the charges. They scare the hell out of you. They tell you that if you don't take the plea, we're going to give you a massively long sentence if you go in front of this all-white jury and get found guilty. So you can roll the dice and hope that these white people who already think you're a thug are going to somehow have some compassion, or you could take this plea, allow us to either send you to jail or label you a felon or put something on your record, which is going to affect you for the rest of your life. So a lot of guys end up taking pleas. So when people make jokes and they say, "Oh, Dr. Boyce, you think so many people that go to prison are innocent?" I say, yeah, a lot of black men are innocent that go to prison. A lot of black men didn't do anything, but they were the guy that the police officer decided to charge, because the other thing that happens in court is that people assume that cops are always innocent and that the accused is always guilty, especially if the accused is black. So when that white police officer is standing next to that black man, let's say the black man's gotten into trouble, they tend to pick on people who maybe have had problems in the past. People are going to believe the cop over the defendant. And what's interesting is that my father was a cop, so I have a lot of respect for good police officers. Mind you, I say this all the time. I refuse to be a person who hates cops. I think that we need good cops in the world. But the other thing I learned about being around so many cops is that there are bad cops out there. There are cops that abuse their authority. There are cops who take advantage of the fact that we live in a dumbass society that somehow wants to believe everything a cop says and refuses to even hear what a poor black person has to say. And so that's the environment of our criminal justice system. And I know I started talking about prison rape, and I just want to really reiterate that point. Rape is not funny, and stop thinking that rape is okay just because it's happening to a black man in prison. All these people out here fighting against sexual assault, who are going on college campuses seeking to destroy people at the even by mere accusation and all this other stuff. I want to see them be equally aggressive when it comes to stopping prison rape, because guess what? If you're a feminist, you're fighting for women. Well, there are women in prison being raped too. But if you're an anti-sexual assault advocate, then you should be fighting against sexual assaults where they happen the most and where they're the most egregious, which is behind bars. And I don't think that there's any reason why we should keep ignoring what's going on in prisons. It's absolutely one of the greatest human rights violations occurring in the world right now. The United States is far worse than any of these countries that we point our finger at. North Korea, Iran, Iraq, Russia, all these countries where we want to constantly say, "Oh, you guys are bad. Look at the way you're treating your people." Well, they're looking right back at us and saying, "Come on, get real. You guys are stupid." The only reason that America gets away with this stuff is because no one's economically strong enough to impose sanctions on us the way we impose sanctions on African countries that don't have the same policies on gay rights that we have or whatever. And also they don't have the military to discipline us. The same way we took our military and attacked Saddam Hussein for no reason. Again, that made President Bush a war criminal. Thousands of people died because he lied, which means he needs to be in prison too. They don't have the military nor the economic might to discipline us. But the fact is that we are the pot calling the kettle black, and it's ridiculous. So anyway, that's it. I just want to say that. So I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. By the way, we got a new film coming out. It's called Resurrecting Black Wall Street, and that's so you can go check out the trailer. Please go check out the trailer. It's at resurrectingblackwallstreet.com, and I hope that you will consider pre-ordering the film to support what we're doing. We do hire black actors and actresses and black people and filmmakers and all kinds of stuff, and we're constantly doing stuff for the community. And our goal is to build empowered spaces where black people can learn all the things that mainstream media is not going to tell you, and that's what we do. That's our gospel. That's what we push for every single day, and that's what I live for. So that's all I want to say. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.